Super Great Kids Stories is a podcast full of fun tales to make you laugh and cry for anyone aged 5 to 105. Our storytellers share awesome tales which will stay in your head forever. Before you know it, you'll be the storyteller, telling your own version of these stories to your friends and family. Find, subscribe and download Super Great Kids Stories wherever you get your podcasts.
You are listening to Comedy Club for Kids presents Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense, Radio Nonsense. Hello, and welcome to Radio Nonsense, the official Comedy Club for Kids podcast that is suitable for everyone of all ages from 2. I'm Tiernan, yes, even when I'm asleep. And how are you all this week? Really? Oh dear. Well, I've heard the best thing to do if you do have an invasion of griffins in your home is just to leave a small trail of Cocoa Pops, Rice Krispies or wild boar out of the door into the garden or window ledge, and then they should follow them till they're outside and they can fly off home and terrorise medieval villages again. So I hope that helps. Give it a go. Me? Oh, well, thank you for asking. I am not terrible, thank you. I dare say I'm even the opposite of glum. I'll tell you what I've been doing. I've been reading, I don't know if you've seen this on the news or maybe you watch the olds, so you'll see it in a couple of years, but I watched the news, so I've seen it recently. And I was reading and watching about the world's longest suspension bridge, which has opened in the Aruca Geopark in Portugal. And if you don't know what a suspension bridge is, it isn't a bridge that causes suspense and mystery, which is what I thought it was, like a sort of suspension bridge. Is there a bridge? Who knows? Who will find out? Will you discover the bridge? That sort of thing, which I suppose would be quite suspenseful, wouldn't it? Bridges are quite suspenseful because if you don't know if there's a bridge there or not, then you're in suspense in case you might fall off the edge or you might be stuck on one side of a river or canyon or large pit or big pile of dangerous custard forever. And that would fill you full of suspense, wouldn't it? So it could be called that, but no, it's called a suspension bridge because the main bridgey bit, or as they call it in clever engineering terms, the bridge thingy bit, you know, that big bit, that's what it's called, that hangs from some very big cables and then is all sort of held up by the cables. Yeah, which is amazing. And this longest suspension bridge in Portugal is 516 metres long, which is about 450 R2-D2s, or it's 300 fridges all stacked up, which would be really annoying if you needed something from the top one to finish your sandwich. That would be, I wish I hadn't put it up there. That would take ages. Or 250 million bacteria long. Yeah, which would be quite disgusting. Like you'd probably, maybe if your fridge is up the top there, it would cause that many bacteria because you wouldn't get to anything and everything would go off. Anyway, so it's very long. The bridge is very long. And I've been looking at pictures of this bridge and I've been trying to work out if I could walk across it because it's quite high up as well and it's quite long and I don't really like heights. It's not true. People say I don't like heights. It's not the heights that bother me. I like things being high, like high trees or the sky. I'm quite pleased it's up high. Otherwise, it'd be down below. It'd be very confusing. But I don't like being up the high things when I think I might fall off them. So it's not scared of the heights, it's the falling. And in fact, it's not even the falling I'm worried about, but the landing bit at the end. So if anything, I'm scared of landing, I suppose. So anyway, I was thinking I probably couldn't walk on that bridge as I'd be too scared in case I fell off and then landed. And that, I guess, means it's created so much suspense in me that it is a suspension bridge, isn't it? So that name is right. Anyway, that's what I've been doing. And actually, I think probably in reality, if I was lucky enough to go there, I'd just walk across it very, very quickly and not look down. We should really measure more things in how many bacteria they would be, right? Or how many stacked up fridges. That's a lot more fun, isn't it, than saying like, I'm 4'2", I'm 12'9". Actually, I'm 15 fridges. That's much better. I reckon I'm about 3.5 broken gumball machines tall, if you were wondering. Thanks for all the questions that you've been sending in and lovely reviews that you've given this show on Apple Podcast and all the other podcast sites that you use. We have now had so many questions sent in that I'm basically living in a shed made of questions. Comedy Club for Kids HQ has been completely replaced by questions and I'm just living in a little place that's built out stacks and stacks of questions. I'm really worried there's going to be a strong wind and blow them all away and then I'll have to run sort of down the street chasing my little home away. Anyway, if you have stuff that you still need to ask, don't worry. We've had lots of questions in. in. It's going to take a while to get through them all. And if we get something sent in, we may not get to it straight away. But that doesn't mean you can't send it in. We're here to answer them things that you've got to ask. So get your elongated chattering cheese strings, grown-ups, to help you email us at podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk with questions, jokes, or exactly how tall you are in any random object measurement that you like. Oh, and any tips for crossing big bridges too, just in case I need them. Also, this is mainly for listeners in the UK, so I'm very, very sorry to the rest of the world and, of course, Mars. But as things in Britain are opening up and the United Kingdom actually are opening up, we are starting to do real live Comedy Club for Kids gigs once again. So if you want to check if we're in a theatre or venue near you, then do look at comedyclubforkids.co.uk/gigs, GIGS. I think we're in Chipping Norton and Poole at the end of May, and then Camberley, Brighton, Cambridge at the beginning of June, and then loads more places all over the summer and after that. So do come and see us. It will be this same sort of silliness, but actually live. And we'll be there shouting in your faces, but live. It'll be very, very exciting. And we can't wait to do the real life shows again. Right, on to this week's important bit. And before we do the important bit, myself and the guest, Stuart, talk about Quavers crisps. Now, I realise for any of you who aren't in the UK, you might not know what a Quavers crisp is. Well, it's a cheesy, wavy sort of puffy crisp or potato chip, if you like. And it isn't the musical symbol, a quaver. We don't eat those here as they make your tummy do very weird noises and then you do very quick farts at 1/8 of a note. Anyway, again, so we call those crisps Quavers, and we call crisps here in the UK, not potato chips because they're crispy. Otherwise we'd call them squelches, wouldn't we? And they're not chippy, unlike chips, which are chippy, even though other places call those fries because, I don't know, they're like flies but made of potato or something. Anyway, I hope that helps. And now...
Squeaking viral sensation.
I am joined on the podcast today by Stuart Laws, or as you will know him, Stuart Laws, master of opening doors while drinking from straws. Stuart Laws, star of the all-crisp version of Wind in the Willows, or for, obviously, our listeners in America, the potato chip version of Zootopia. And, of course, the man who is definitely not a giant caterpillar in disguise. Hey, Stu, how you doing?
Yeah, I mean, you've been reading my bio. You've been doing a bit of research.
Well, yeah, of course. I research all of our guests, but also, I mean, I didn't really need to research you that much. That is all stuff that we all know about you. You're very famous for all those reasons.
Yeah, I mean, there were a few of those were a bit of a front page splash, weren't they?
Absolutely. Especially sort of the crisp version of Wind in the Willows, which was quite remarkable. And it's hard to think of a film that I enjoyed quite as much.
Yeah, it is also weird when a short film gets on the front page of a newspaper.
Yes, it doesn't happen very often, but I think it's probably because the way in which you managed to make Badger entirely out of Quavers.
Oh, I mean, tell me about it. The thing is, that was a party trick of mine at school. So this is where it comes from. And I don't know if your listeners know about school. I don't know what sort of age range we're talking for your listeners, 70 to 85?
Pretty much. Some of them 70 to 85, some of them are 0 to 403. I mean, it really varies. So I assume at least 4 of them will know about school.
Okay, so to these 4, school, I don't need to explain. To those of you who don't know what school is a place where you go to and then very boring older people tell you stuff they think you want to know.
Ugh, sounds terrible.
Horrible. So what I did during that time to distract myself and to stop myself learning, I believe is the term, I built animals out of crisps. And obviously Quavers is such a wonderful thing to, Quavers is a wonderful, it's a luxury crisp, but it helps create all those fancy little bits because you've got things like squares or frazzles and they're like very much building blocks, very standard, boring. But the quaver just adds a bit. It could be an eyelash. It could be a little piggy tail. It could go off in so many different directions. And that's the wonderful thing about a quaver. So Badger started when I was at school. And after that, it was just sort of a short hop and a skip to Toad Hall.
Superb. I mean, one of the I'll tell you what I'm intrigued by is obviously Wind in the Willows. For any of the listeners who don't know the story, there's a load of... It's got animals in it, and they all sort of shout at each other. And there's a frog that drives a toad that drives a car. Yeah. That's sort of it. I think I've summed it up. Anyway, there's definitely a bit where there's a river in it, and you had the river, and the little characters were in the river, but they didn't melt. Like we talked about. You mentioned skips. Skips are meant to melt, but it didn't. And I don't know how you did that. That was pretty impressive. I thought they'd all just vanish. But
give you a little secret here. Have you heard of spit?
What?
Yeah.
Well, like
So if
from
you-
like your mouth?
Well, so what you do is you spit into a cup, get your parents' finest cup, you spit into it, and then what do you mix in with that? A tiny little bit of salt, a tiny little bit of sugar. Whisk that up as much as you can, and then you just dunk in each crisp, and it forms a protective coating.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. And also, I suppose with things like that, if you've got a bag crisps you don't want to eat for a while, but you don't want them to go off, you
Exactly.
can do that, coat them all, then come back to them 3-4 months later,
Yeah.
you got a fresh bag of crisps.
Pop them in the pantry, assuming everyone's still got pantries. And
I think so, yeah.
yeah, because
Yeah.
crisps notoriously go off quite quickly. So
Yes.
this is a perfect way of doing it. And I look, I don't know whether your listeners live with people, whether they have flatmates. I don't know what the sort of demographics are for your.
I don't know. I think some of them might live in like things like a barrel or maybe in space. I don't know. We've got a very wide range of listeners for this show, so it's difficult
Right.
to tell.
So if they live alone, obviously that's something they can do easily. If you're alone in space, you don't have to answer to anyone. If you're alone in a barrel about to go over a waterfall or something like that, you've probably got other things on your mind. But if you do live with other people, perhaps they're older, and I don't know, they've got nicknames like Ma and Pa or something like that. They will appreciate you getting a cup out, spitting into it, putting in salt and sugar, and then putting in a load of crisps and just leaving them about the house.
Yes. I'm sure they would. And I also can't think of a greater sight. You come home from like a hard day's work, whatever it is that you do, sort of raking shoes or whatever it is that people do nowadays. And then you come home and it's like, oh, I've had a really long day. Oh, look at my beautiful home covered in spit glazed crisps from top to toe. It's like, what can you imagine what a sight that would be?
Heaven.
Yeah. Absolute heaven. It's absolute heaven. Well, I mean, Stuart, it is a joy to have you on the show. No, I was just going to ask, actually, are you in the process of making any other films along the same lines, or is that kind of are you done with crisp films now?
I'm actually at the moment trying to develop a film that is about the secret extra 3 hours that you can find in a day if you look hard enough.
Oh, wow.
Do you know about this?
Wow, that's exciting. No, I don't know about this. I mean, I suppose my first question is where on earth would you begin to look?
Okay, so for me, I start to look. Obviously, you start behind the sofa because that's often where a lot of things get lost. Cats, other goldfish, coins, things like that. The extra 3 hours are not there. You actually have to employ something called science. And I don't know if any of your listeners, I don't know what the demographics are of your listeners. I don't know the type of people that listen to this podcast, but I don't know if they've heard of science.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, there's probably at least 1.5 people that have, and I'm not sure about the rest of them yet.
Fair enough. So one has and hasn't at the same time.
I think so, yes.
That is
or maybe
science
just
in a
their
way.
knees have. It might just be their knees have and the rest of them hasn't. You know.
Yeah, I've read that. I've read that paper. Now, what you do if you want to find the extra 3 hours is you have to wait till it hits midnight. Then you press your nose and you put your fingers in your ears. You put your tongue. You press your tongue onto your nose. So you're booping your nose down at the same time. Fingers in ears, tongue, and then you knock your knees together. And that should, if you time it right, open up like a countdown, another 3 hour countdown. Now, you won't necessarily get access to all 3 hours because you then have to operate within that. You have to be quite pure in how you move around. So there can't be, if you trip or you stumble when you're moving around in those extra 3 hours, it brings you back straight into the normal timeline.
Right.
So you have to just be, you're using, those 3 hours are a gift for you to be able to do extra things like homework, or you get a start on your paper round, for example. Do your listeners do paper rounds?
I think so. I'm not sure if they do paper rounds or maybe they just have round papers. I don't know. Again, it depends on where they are in the world. It's different for some people. Some people have paper rounds, some people have round papers, and then they have to sort of like work out where to start because it doesn't really have edges and it's very confusing.
Well, in space, that's the easiest way to deliver the newspaper, isn't it?
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, less friction up there.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah, well, I've got lots of questions for you, but also I'm aware that I don't want to spoiler this film that you're making because there will be some things obviously you want to save for the big release, and I know how these projects can be quite secretive. But I suppose my first question is, I wonder if I've never discovered these 3 hours. I can't boot my nose with my tongue. Like I can't. I don't think I can do that. Is there anything else I can do? Can I use like a pencil or, I don't know, a carefully positioned vegetable or something to boot my nose?
A very
instead?
good question. And it's something that I haven't really considered, that the access point to these 3 hours is difficult, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of things that we talk about in life where life isn't fair. Like some people get access to certain things. You know, some people are born rich and it makes things easier for them. Some people are born with longer tongues, which allows them to get access to these 3 hours that most people don't know about.
Yeah. And then they've got that 3 hours to probably get rich and make things easier, and the rest of us don't have that access, so it's pretty tricky.
That's how I got the funding for this film, was in those extra 3 hours.
Wow. I mean, that makes a lot of sense, of course.
Because you're walking around then in those extra 3 hours, everyone's wearing suits, and you know what suits mean? Money.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And they're walking around with briefcases, and they open the briefcase and they say, that's cash, that's strong cash. You can have that if you can tell me what you're doing with your life. And I say, I'm making a movie, which is coming out on TikTok. And they say, here you go, here's the cash.
That's amazing. And I should also, I guess, because TikTok's only like really short videos, but I guess if you're using an extra 3 hours, you can fit a whole film in that TikTok post.
Yeah, so if you then access TikTok within those 3 hours, instead of a 59-second limit, it's a 3 hours and 59-second limit.
That's brilliant. Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, you've really got, this is an incredible thing that you've discovered. And no wonder you look so well. Although I suppose if you're having extra 3 hours a day, you've probably aged. You're probably older than you were before you started this.
But it reverses the aging process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So actually time in that is running, first of all, it runs backwards for an hour and a half, then it runs forward. But to you, it's running forward the whole time. But that's how it exists in that. So it's on a, so you know about 3 dimensions and how we can go up, we can go down, we can go left, we can go right, forwards, backwards. This introduces a 4th dimension, which so then you're moving through time, but it's imperceptible to your previous version that was working only in 3D.
Wow, it's kind of like a quaver of time.
Yes. Well, I mean, you've read that book, I assume.
Yes, of course, the very famous Quaver of Time book, which is about, but that's very different, isn't it? That's about like crisps through the ages.
Oh yeah,
and the first ever crisp.
Yeah.
No, but it is. I mean, it's really good, isn't it? I didn't even know that sort of prehistoric times they used to have crisps made of rocks, which was amazing.
Yeah, well, that was what led to the extinction of the dinosaurs, wasn't it? They just got their habit. They went up from sort of 2 or 3 crisp rocks a day up to 200-300, and it just weighed their stomachs down, and they all sort of couldn't move anymore.
Yeah, which I mean, I understand that now with real crisps. I understand I do that with real crisps. It's lucky they aren't made of rocks. That's what I'm saying, or I'd be in a lot of trouble. So
yeah, well, I mean, in the before times, I remember coming along and meeting you and seeing you at a gig, and you were like, "Just give me half an hour," and I was like, "What's up?" And you were, "You can tell what's up. I'm stuck to the floor," and you were just there, belly to the floor, sort of wobbling around, sort of like trying to get up, and you're like, I've had too many crisps, and I was like, that's classic too.
Thousands of crisps in one go. They're too Moorish. That's the problem. It's very hard to not eat crisps. Well, I mean, we've already covered quite a lot, and I've still got so many questions to ask you, Stu, but I suppose the first one should just be, how are you? Obviously, you're very busy with your films and everything, but yeah, are you generally okay?
You know what? I am okay, but there's times throughout all of this where I have struggled, and I've thought, am I doing the right thing with my life? Should I be pursuing this? People are telling me that, that I've lost my mind, that I should stop. And that can be tough sometimes, but I believe in it. I enjoy it. That's the main thing. I enjoy it, and it's doing no harm to other people. And so as long as I can enjoy it, do no harm to other people, then I can say, this is the right thing for me. And so it has been tough, but I think I've come through it, and I feel good now.
Good. I'm very pleased. That's very good. I think it's a very worthwhile project. As I said, I'm very excited about it. But obviously, is that what you've been up to this entire time? I don't think I've seen you for about a year. Has that been the whole past year? Have you been up to anything else?
No.
And
I've been doing all sorts of other things. I've I got access. So all the swimming pools have been closed.
Yeah.
So I've been going through to all of them. It's very simple. What I've been doing is, the packs of jelly that you get, the 6 cubes of jelly. I've been getting thousands of them, and I've been chucking them into swimming pools. And then I've got this like heat stick. So it's a big long metal stick, and then you plug it into your USB of your laptop, and you stick it in the pool, and it warms up the pool, so it melts all the jelly. And then you come back 2 weeks later, the whole pool's jelly. Yeah,
that's brilliant. That's
brilliant.
Fun. And I mean, obviously, like in my head, I'm like, well, take a bowl of custard, you're having a party time. But is there also something like, if you were to go up to the top diving board and jump in, would you bounce straight back up?
Well, how about you ask my friend Borowski?
Wow. Okay. Borowski is Borowski here? Can I ask Borowski now?
No. He's stuck in the ceiling.
Oh, I see. Right. So
pool.
I didn't know. Yeah. I didn't know that he was there with you. He's going to pop by. Right. So I won't ask him. It's all right. I'll save it and I'll find him. But he's now stuck in the ceiling.
He's stuck. He's got. So if you go to that swimming pool, you can see his legs if you're in the swimming pool. But if you're a bird and you're above, you can see his head because he's out there. And you know what? He's getting on really well with the birds. He's always been someone. Borowski has always been said to me, birds are not for me. But he's done a real 180 in the last 2 weeks.
Oh, that's nice. Isn't it so nice, the things that people discovered that they're good at in this past year and that they're capable of doing? And I think that's really important. So I'm really pleased for him.
Yeah, it is nice to see, actually. And to be honest, to get the video of him jumping from that top diving board, hitting the jelly reacting immediately. So when you slap a jelly, which is a fun thing, we've all done it.
Brilliant. It's brilliant, yeah.
Your parents have made a nice jelly and you've come by and you've gone, what's this about? And they go, I've made a jelly, and bam, slap it. And it just wobbles, but it gets tense, doesn't it, a jelly? Because, as we all do, if any of us got slapped, we'd get tense.
Absolutely, yeah. I fully sympathise, yeah.
And so that's what happened. He jumped onto it, bam, slapped it, jelly got tense, pushed him away, straight up through that roof, and now he's got 3 gull friends, a magpie and a jay, which are from the same family, but the jay is obviously the more beautiful one. But we don't want to live in a society that rewards beauty over stealing. I guess the magpie is a big. You need to praise that it's got a trade. The magpie steals. Well done. You're good at that.
That's it. Yeah, collecting. We'll say it's collecting.
It's collecting. Yeah, it's collecting, and also it is often collecting things that have been thrown away. So it's less stealing, isn't it? I mean,
recycling. Yeah, it's recycling. Yeah.
Yeah. Although, we say it's recycling. I got back to my flat last night and I saw a magpie flying out of my house with my 58-inch TV under its wing.
Wow.
So that's less collect. That is more stealing, isn't it?
That is definitely more stealing. It depends, I suppose, on what it's then going to use it for. If it then is going to recycle it into loo roll or something, maybe then fair play. Yeah. It's an impressive thing to carry. I'd like to have seen it. I mean, I sort of feel like I know obviously you're upset. I can see it in your face that you're upset about this, but I mean, it's pretty impressive for it. You must have been a little bit of you going, look at you carrying that. Well done, mate.
No, I did mutter. I'm not even mad as it was. That is just, look at that. That's a bird flying.
Yeah.
And anyway, this morning dropped through my letterbox the latest Magpie magazine, which I don't know if you subscribe to that.
I don't know.
It's a wonderful subscription, so it comes out every week, the Magpie magazine. And what was on the front page, and I'm used to being on the front page, it was Magpie Jeff has learned how to fly with a TV under its wing.
Wow.
One wing flying, because one's holding onto the TV and one's doing the flapping.
Did you check the trade ads at the back? Were you able to get your TV back? Because that's what I've heard, is that sometimes they'll take your things and then you look in the sort of classifieds at the back and it says like one TV price, 4 acorns and a biscuit or something, and then you can just go and get it back.
And to be honest, 4 acorns and a biscuit to me is not much. To someone of my wealth, it's
you've got a lot of acorns. I don't want to. Yeah, I know you like to keep bright, but you have got a lot of acorns. Yeah.
Yeah, you can say my net worth if you want. I don't mind.
It's a lot, but I mean, I don't. What is it now? Because last time I remember it was sort of 343,100,000 acorns. Is it still that many? No, yes, I have. Yes, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's gone the opposite of that, but by
right.
by 4 acorns only because of the TV.
Okay.
So I actually haven't
Sure,
spent
of
any
course.
acorns recently. It's actually quite tough to spend acorns. I mean, I've gone into a lot of shops recently. You know, my cheeks bulging with acorns, and
Yeah.
you know, you get up, you've put down your lasagna and your pizza pie and your moray eel burger, and you look at the cashier and they say that's £4.83, and then you pop, 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 out a couple of acorns out of your mouth into their palm, and they look at you like you're a worm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, sometimes you are dressed as a worm, though, aren't you? That's...
Yes, but look at me like I'm a regal worm who's
Right.
just paid you handsomely and with a tip. There's 5
That's
acorns
it.
you've got in your palm there. And what's also covering
lot,
those
isn't it?
acorns? Spit. Pop a bit of salt and a little bit of sugar on that. You preserve those
Yeah,
acorns for a
they'll
lifetime.
keep for ages. And also, I mean, you know, it'll come into its own around the winter time when there's all these squirrels desperate for acorns, and you can just, here you go, and you get
Yeah.
them to do odd jobs for you, and suddenly you've got an army of squirrels at your disposal, and the world's at your knees, really, isn't it?
Your world's your squirrel at that point, and that is something that you learn at a young age if you're in a certain part of the world. But maybe this cashier didn't learn that growing up, and so they're looking at me like I'm a lowly worm when I'm a regal worm, and I'm thinking, you don't know what power you've got there. A squirrel army is on its way to you if you plant your acorns right.
That's it. But as you said, you know, everyone's born into different circumstances. Not everybody knows about the squirrel army possibilities, and it's a very tricky thing. And I think all of the listeners to this show very much understand that. I suppose I should also ask you: is that, you know, and I don't want to give too much away, but as I'm speaking to you, you're in an office. You're not actually at your home. You're in a very nice fancy office where I think occasionally I hear someone making a cup of tea or something in the background, which is very exciting. And I wondered if a lot of listeners, they've been stuck at home for a long time, but now they might be back at school or in space or in that barrel, as we've discussed. And so I just wondered if you've... Well, I was going to ask if you got a tip for being stuck at home, but just maybe if you got a tip, really. If you haven't already given us enough already, we've had quite a lot on this podcast so far.
Well, I guess the most important tip to me at the moment is the tip of my tongue to enable me to boop my own nose.
Of course.
Talking about time and everything. But I guess the big tip I've had recently is when I've wanted to feel like I'm going on holiday, something I've been doing is I've been making my own flat look like a hotel or look like someone else's house to make it feel like I've gone on holiday. So, you know, sometimes you'll go to a cottage in the countryside and it's someone's like, oh yeah, this is my second home, come and stay here, lovely. So I've been putting up like framed photos of people that I don't know in my own flat, so that I just walk in and I'm like, oh, what? I don't recognize this place. I've been putting like signs next to the shower about how to use the shower, because you get that quite a lot, don't you?
Yes, you do, and they also never actually make sense. Like, they always tell you how to use the shower, and then you do it, and it's still cold.
Yes, yeah. What they do is they're like, so what you do, there's 4 dials on this shower. You turn the second one 3/4 of the way, the third one 1/4 of the way, the fourth one you take that dial off and you put it in the toilet bowl. You flush the toilet, then you press the on button, then you crank dial 1 up to B, and that should be at an acceptable temperature. And you do it, and you're like, well, what the hell? Chocolate milk's coming out of this shower now.
Yeah, which actually would be quite nice for a while until you get all sticky. There'd be a moment where it'd be like, chocolate milk, and then after a little while, it'd be like, oh, I'm really
and the temperature of it's
and...
wonderful, very cold, which is what you want for chocolate milk. But for a shower,
terrible, absolutely terrible. Yeah. It's, well, I mean, that's a really great tip. And so you put pictures of other people's families or other people you don't know around the place. Sort of, there's obviously instructions for the shower. I'm guessing often there's always instructions for the TV as well, isn't there? And for, you don't have a TV. Sorry to bring that up.
Well, it's coming back soon, so...
Of course. So hopefully, yeah.
You have upset me and that's not your fault. You didn't, you know, you're not used to having guests on here who've had their TVs recently stolen, so it's not your fault. And
No.
You know, but yeah, it has upset me, but I will plow on. I will steel myself. Okay.
Thanks, Stuart. Thank you. I appreciate your bravery and courage in the face of such adversity. But I mean that is a really great tip. Is what I meant to say.
Thank you.
Try and make your place seem like somewhere else. How extreme have you gone? Have you tried to like build a swimming pool in your kitchen or anything? Have you gone really far out with making it like a holiday villa?
Well, something I have done is I've introduced a lot of non-native species of animals to my flat.
Right.
So, you know, when you go to a different country and like you see like a very normal bird, but it's not normal to you, but it's like very common in that country. And you think, oh my word, look at this. It's so exciting. Whereas the equivalent is someone coming to here and sort of seeing a blackbird and losing their minds.
Yeah.
So that's what I've done. I've introduced the purple squirrel. That's come in, which is exciting because we're all used to grey squirrels, and there's some red squirrels up in Scotland, and they're exciting when you see them. But I've introduced the South Asian purple squirrel to my flat, and I tell you something, they're beautiful. They're beautiful. I've also introduced the long-heeled toad. So I don't know if you know about the long-heeled toad.
I don't know. No.
That's from Andorra. So it lives at the top of the mountains in Andorra, and it's extremely long heel. And that's a very ugly animal, but very beautiful in its own way. It really owns and sort of feels confident in itself. So I look in and I think, you know, by our normal beauty standards, you're not a good-looking toad. But you've got an inner beauty to you, that confidence, and I really like that.
That's most important. That's really important. Yeah.
And then, of course, it's about 17 birds of paradise that live in there.
Oh, beautiful.
And then there's the jelly vole, which is like it's a new species. It recently came about in sort of actually in the area near me, so it's actually not it is a native species. It was a water vole, but it recently evolved into a jelly vole because there's been an increasing amount of jelly in the area.
Sure. Not a bad thing, but probably tastier for it in many ways. So yeah.
Yeah, they just live in the jelly banks, so sort of the banks of the jelly, and they raise their family there. And they come by. They don't get on well with the purple squirrel. I'll tell you that. They're sort of ideologically very different.
Right. That's going to be tricky to sort of have that going on in your flat all at the same time. I was going to ask as well. I mean, I'm assuming purple squirrel, they're from somewhere else. I'm hoping they don't eat acorns, do they?
They do, but you can train them not to.
Okay, few.
Yeah, so they actually, because they're from South Asia, they're really into sort of various different Asian dishes. They really like that. They hate Wagamama. I'll say that.
Yeah, fair.
They say that it's not authentic, and that's fair enough. But came over here, spied my big old money tower, my acorn tower, and started helping themselves to it. They got through about 2 acorns before I was like, whoa.
Wow.
Brought the purple squirrel back to the kitchen where the long-heeled toad was, just looking confident, really. But to be fair, it just made a wonderful dinner, so you should feel confident when you've done that. And me and the toad gave the purple squirrel a bit of a talking to.
Good. I'm very pleased. Wow. I mean, this is it's an excellent tip, and you've just got so much going on in your life, Stuart. I'm so grateful again that you've had time for this show today. And I've got to ask you some questions that I have to ask everybody I speak to on this show because it's just necessary. It's very important. The first of which is that this is an audio podcast that every week, I say listeners listen to it, and hopefully with their ears, it might be with other parts of their body. I don't discriminate.
Yeah.
And I just wonder that because it's an audio podcast, if you had a favourite noise you could either make for us or tell us about.
Yeah, well, I think the fun thing is in whatever situation is just to run into a room where people who are older than you are having like a formal thing. So like they're trying to do they're at work or they're trying to talk to a business person or a money person, any of those situations. We can all picture. I don't know what the listeners to your podcast are like. I don't know what the sort of ages they are or what they do. But if they know anyone older than them, just run into the room and just go honk honk, honk honk, like that, like a goose has got loose.
Ah, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And I guess that just causes like a furore and people like, there's a goose that's loose, and it really disrupts the scene. Yeah.
And you just be like, keep yourself quiet, like, shh, nah, it's not a goose, it's me. But you don't say that out loud. You're just saying that in your own head.
That's beautiful. Beautiful. What a great sound. What a great sound to teach listeners. I hope they will all be honking at some of the most formal occasions that they can find. That sounds wonderful. And of course, the other thing I need to just check with you is that this is a family-friendly podcast. It is suitable for people of all possible ages that you could ever kind of imagine, really, from letters and numbers and even sort of symbols. And I just wanted to make sure that if you've got any rude words that you definitely won't be saying, to make sure that this is safe.
Yeah, jarflickle is something that I definitely won't be saying. Oh.
Yeah, no, please don't say that. That is a jar. Is it jarflickle, wasn't it? Oh,
yes.
That is.
Well, I've learnt that from the purple squirrel.
Wow. Really?
Yeah.
It's not rude. Is it not rude to them, or is it rude to them, but they use it?
Well, they didn't realise, and this is the thing with words sometimes, is that we might grow up using a word that we think is okay. And then we meet other people and we find out that to them that word actually makes them a bit sad.
Sure.
And it's something that can be difficult sometimes. We're like, well, I've said it my whole life and I don't use it in a bad way, but it's about how that word affects other people. And I think sometimes we need to be respectful of that. And I regret saying jarflickle now. And again, hopefully you can beep that one out. And I'm just saying it now, I didn't know that it upset people, and so I will now stop using it. And the purple
don't say jarflickle again, please. Yeah, thank you. That'd be great if you can make sure you don't say jarflickle for the rest of this podcast. And I definitely won't say jarflickle as well, and we'll just make sure that no one has to hear it again. That would be very reassuring for everyone tuning in. Brilliant. Well, thank you, Stuart. Listen, I mean, the reason I've got you here, the reason I've asked you on this particular episode is because we have got an important question, as we have every single show. But this one is particularly important, and one I thought that you might really be able to help us with. So this question comes from James, aka hahsundbdghd, which is what I believe there. Man? Oh, you know, right? I didn't realise you knew hahsundbdghd. Right, well, that's nice. Good, that's funny, because I thought this question would be good for you. I didn't realise, obviously, there was a personal thing there that you actually knew them as well. Well hahsundbdghd has asked, and this is a great question, really, what if video games sucked you in? Yeah.
Well, let me tell you, me and hahsundbdghd have chatted about this many times. So this is a bit of an inside joke between the two of us. Me, hahsundbdghd, and Borowski have hung out many times and chatted. We've shot the jarflickle, so to speak. And look, what if video games suck you in?
Yeah, it's a big question, isn't it? I mean, we've all thought about it. I've definitely thought about it. You know.
Yeah, well, I know.
So about what if I was playing and suddenly went, oh no, it's suddenly like I'm having to jump on a mushroom.
I can see it, actually. You're thinking about it now, aren't you? You can see all the question marks and everything coming out of your head.
Yeah. Like I was in a game, yeah.
Wow, look at that. Now, what is, if not a video game, an extra 3 hours to your day? Is
that a video game, is it?
It's inspired by a video game. So we don't know the science behind it, but me, Hasselhoff, and Borowski were playing a video game. I don't know if you know all video games that have ever been released ever.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's called Normal People Dunking the Sweet Dunks.
Oh, I know normal people dunking the sweet dunks. Yeah, that's a classic game. And of course. Yeah, who do you play as when you play that game? Which characters you pick?
I play as Kongra.
Oh, Congra, classic. Yeah, I like being Pickle Monster, but sometimes I like playing as a Henry Socks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
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 you play on easy level difficulty.
yeah. I
That's
do.
fine.
Yeah, I do. I'm
That's
not very
fine
good
because
at it.
it's about the enjoyment. But in that, the special move of Kongra and the special move of Sylvanity Mirror, if you know the Sylvanity Mirror, um, is to put their fingers in the ear and to start knocking their knees together and then be like, nah, 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 I can't hear you. And that manages to deflect all the thoughts that are coming at them. We were doing that one day, and that's when my tongue, very long tongue, because I've been talking to the long-heeled toad, and he was giving me tips on how to sort of make your tongue longer. And my tongue flicked out and booped me on the nose. And suddenly, I had an extra 3 hours to my life. And so look, was it to do with the video game? Did that video game suck me in? Is that the key to this extra 3 hours? I don't know. But it certainly was there at the same time that I got the extra 3 hours.
But now you're saying, because the amount of times that when you're playing a video game or a computer game or just a game, it depends on what you like to call them. But when you're playing that and it feels like you haven't been playing for very long, but then your mum or your dad will come in and go, "You've been playing it for 20 years. You have to get off it now because dinner's gone cold and gone mouldy and like it's been eaten by a fox." And then
like,
you have to stop playing.
You spit on it and put salt and sugar on it and you preserve it, mum.
Yeah, they just never think these things through. It's so weird, isn't it? But I wondered if that was why. If it always feels like you've never been playing video games for that long, but actually been playing them for ages. And maybe that is because they sort of suck you in and they warp the possibilities of time.
Now you say that, I think that I haven't found an extra 3 hours and that I've just been playing that video game for too long.
Oh. Do you think that's possible? Or
I think that makes a lot more sense than the fact that I've disrupted the order of time and found an extra 3 hours that runs forwards and backwards at the same time and no one else knows about.
that could also be why there was a lot of people in suits with briefcases of cash.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it could be. Well, let's not dwell on. I mean, let's think about what is there a video game you would like to be sucked into? Do you think?
Yes, I would like to be sucked into the video game theme park.
Oh, that would be good, wouldn't it?
Yeah, because I don't.
Yeah.
I think the idea of a theme park is so amazing that I'm surprised no one's ever done it before.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, it'd be. When you say no one's ever done it before, like no one's made a theme park before, or do you think that no one's ever let you turn up and just build a theme park in their home?
No one's ever made a theme park before, apart from in those video games. And so, to me, the idea of like going to a park which has like roller coasters and thrill rides and candy and popcorn and hot dogs sounds like such an exciting place, and everyone goes there and has fun, and they get photos of themselves and they buy merchandise, things to remember the wonderful day that they've had, and that sounds like a wonderful idea. And I'm surprised it only exists in a video game. So I'd like to jump into that.
It's quite unrealistic. It'd be quite hard to do in real life. And I suppose that's why we have video. It's probably why the idea of being sucked into video games is so exciting, because video games show you things that you couldn't have in real life. That's why you have video games like Tractor Simulator and those sort of fishing ones.
The goats one.
Or the goats one. Yeah, absolutely, the goats one. Or the ones that's just an Excel spreadsheet and you have to put your financials in it. All these sort of things you can't really do in real life. And so it gives you a glimpse into how it could be.
Yeah. Have you done the thinking and walking game? That's out on the Mega Drive.
No, I haven't. No, and what do you have to do with that? So
that game is you choose one of three characters, and then you just you move the character around this sort of empty space, and then if you don't move it around, you get bonus points because that's you're then thinking. And if you do move it around, you get bonus points because you're walking. And it's about who gets the most different types of bonus points.
That's
really
brilliant.
Is wonderful.
Is there a way to lose it? Like, is there a way you could just lie down?
Yeah, if you run or you lie down and you go to sleep, because then you're not thinking. The dream world is thinking for you.
That sounds really tricky. That sounds wow. I mean, I really want to play that. I keep hearing about there's a game I keep hearing about called Fortnite, which I believe you just play for 2 weeks. You just solidly play a game for 2 weeks, and then you stop for 2 weeks, then you play it for 2 weeks again.
Wow,
And that sounds quite good. Yeah,
that sounds great. I always remember my dad always said to me, and I don't know if your listeners know about dads.
Yeah, I think so. They might do. They might not do.
Yeah.
They, I don't know. Some people have pumpkins. Some people have lentils. It's a different world out there. So.
Yeah, it's a different world, but yeah, whatever you know, and that's great. He always referred to a tea when I made him a nice cup of tea as fortnight tea, which was 2 week. It was 2 week.
Oh, brilliant!
Yeah, so I didn't leave the tea bag in long enough.
That's sure.
Or maybe that's what the game is.
It could well be. I haven't actually played it, and I don't know a lot of it. It's what I hear the kids talking about. So I think that maybe it is about making tea in the same way that I think Minecraft is just them. It's like your own crafts, isn't it? You just make crafts, and you can weave a basket, or you can maybe knit some scarves or something like that. So,
Yeah, I think that Minecraft sounds like a wonderful game, and if anyone likes doing that, then you get your crafts out there. Absolutely. And if you like Fortnite, you like playing a game for 2 weeks straight to see if you can make the weakest tea, then also
great, isn't it? Yeah,
Roblox
is the other one as well, where you just sort of put cones out on a road, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Love that.
Yeah, it's pretty good. But I don't play. I don't play these games. I'm sort of old now. I don't get to play the games the kids play. I just. I wish I could imagine getting sucked into those games. That would be incredible, wouldn't it?
Imagine getting sucked into Minecraft and be able to just watch everyone do their crafts. Going over to Nana knitting and just watch her do her canoeing that she loves to do.
That'd be brilliant. Well, here you go. I got one controversial question for you, because I think this is we've delved into this quite deeply. But I just wonder, what if you were sucked into a video game, but then what if someone absolutely rubbish controlled you?
Oh, someone rubbish, sort of like the Prime Minister or someone like that.
Yeah, and just had no idea what to do.
Yeah, okay. Well, I guess the fun thing of that is I'd really get to know what the corners of rooms were like.
Just running into the corners of rooms.
Yeah, I love that little bit where you just see me just sort of nestled in the corner of a room, jumping up and down, headbutting the wall, sort of leaning down to pick something up, but there's nothing there, and just sort of constantly sort of jerking around, trying to find, there must be a way through here, booping my nose, all of that. That'd be fun.
Yeah. Do you know what? I think you're right. I think regardless of what happened, and also I suppose you wouldn't really be able to complain because you'd be being controlled anyway, so it just sort of wouldn't make much difference.
Actually, that'd make my life a lot easier.
Yeah, it would be good. I've always thought that I'd quite like to go into a video game and then just make things really difficult for the main characters. So like,
okay,
like if like say if you were playing Super Mario or something, and like a big mushroom appeared, and he's like, "I'm going to eat that. I'd eat it first." I'd be like, "What are you going to do? You can't do nothing now, mate. You're all small."
Because you're much taller than him now.
Yeah, just push him over.
Yeah, which I mean, Mario. If you're asking me, I think Mario deserves that because he's a plumber, but I've never seen him do any plumbing.
No. But then did he get sucked into a video? Because I wonder if there's or maybe he needs to be sucked into a video game about plumbing. I don't know. It's very complicated. I feel like there's a lot of angles to this, and it's difficult to know which is real. I suppose. Yeah. But you're right. He's never. You just want to see him do a bit of plumbing and then sort of bill for it at the end, and so fix your toilet now. And
that would be nice. It'd be, and then a video game where Mario's just doing a bit of thinking, a little bit of walking, a little bit of plumbing.
Yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah, for 2 weeks.
Sounds great. Yeah, perfect. I think you've just described the perfect video game, and I would happily be sucked into that one. I think to do some.
Yeah. And if he needs to clean the pipes, then he can send like a very speedy hedgehog down that pipe.
Unless I've tied his shoelaces together, which is what I would do if I was in that game. Yeah, brilliant. Oh, well, thank you, Stuart. I mean, that is a really in-depth look. I don't know if Huz has expected such an in-depth look, but if you know him, you've probably had this conversation 12 times already, haven't you?
Look, I'll be on the old phone to hahsundbdghd to as soon as this is over, just to say, like, cheers to the question, man, but should we go and hang out with Borowski and see if he's got any more bird friends?
Brilliant. Good. Well, and good. I was going to ask what you're up to the rest of the day, but I suppose you'll be doing that and then sort of exploring those 3 hours a bit more.
Yeah, well, I will hopefully get a bit more scientific evidence that is a thing and I haven't just lost it. But otherwise, I guess I'll just be running around town yelling, I don't think you're ready for this jelly, and then turning swimming pools into jelly.
It's good. Sounds like a really great day. Have fun.
Yeah.
But actually, this is the sonorous war cry of a very angry frog.
Many thanks, yes, even more than 5 of them, to Stuart Laws for answering that important question and helping us to work out how you get an extra 3 hours in our day. Should you need more time to, tie shoelaces for a millipede or shout rude things at a lamppost, they deserve it. I hope, James, aka hahsundbdghd, that you are very happy with the answers, and by the sounds of it, you already discussed it with your pal Stuart anyway, so I'm not really sure why you wrote in, but I'm very, very glad that you did. Don't forget, if you have got questions or general thoughts, ideas, jokes, better names for crisps, gold bullion or unwanted yaks, then please send them all in and get your elongated chattering cheese strings to help you email us at podcast@comedyclubforkids.co.uk. If you also fancy giving us a nice review, that would be very, very lovely on any of the podcast sites you use. And if your grown-ups would like to buy us a yak juice, then they can do that at ko-fi.com/comedyclubforkids or via the Acast supporter button. Most importantly, though, if you live near one of our upcoming live shows, please grab a ticket and come and say hello. I'm now going to go and see if arch bridges are actually the evil arch nemesis of bridges. Bye, hi! You have been listening to Comedy Club for Kids Presents. Radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense, radio nonsense. It's the end.